This month on Wow, we're joined by CTI President and CEO Steve Largent. Steve, good to have you with us here.
Thank you, John. Good to be with you.
Let's look back at 2010 before we move on to the coming year, and what kind of year you think it's been in terms of growth in the industry.
Well, actually, in 2009, when the economy took a bit of a hit, the wireless industry was able to keep its head above water. But this year, we're experiencing phenomenal growth again. We've got nearly 300 million subscribers, 293 to be exact, which is phenomenal. We've seen continued growth in number of handsets. We have 630 handsets offered on a variety of different carriers, networks, 33 different providers of those handsets. So we see a lot of diversity in the products that are and services that are being offered. So the continued growth of the wireless industry has been phenomenal in my eyes.
Yeah, you raised an interesting point there, too, because this is all happening, the growth of the industry, at a time where comparatively a lot of other industries are having a difficult time of it.
That's exactly right. I mean, this is all coming at a time when everybody's worried about the economy, and the wireless industry is actually one of those entities in our economy that is not just surviving but doing well. And I always say in Washington, D.C., that when the government's looking for areas of growth, that the wireless industry is one of those industries that's helping them in that cause. So it really is an important industry for a lot of different reasons.
You raised some interesting points talking about the strength of the industry, but particularly at a time when we're looking at job creation and economic growth on one hand, and others are looking at perhaps regulating the industry and maybe threatening that job creation and the economic growth. I mean, net neutrality is certainly right in those sights.
That's exactly my point. Here's an industry that's producing for this economy that needs the production beyond any shadow of a doubt. And to have the government trying to say that, well, we think we need to regulate you, that's the problem. And that is the problem, but it's not the problem they think. The problem I see is if you bring regulators into this industry, it's going to do harm. I don't think there's any question about that. It's going to hurt the industry in terms of its innovative features that it has. I mentioned 630 handsets, 33 different providers, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's just so much good that's happening in the wireless sector right now that we don't want to see harmed by excessive regulation. And net neutrality would do exactly that at exactly the wrong time. So I think for all of those reasons, it's something that needs to be thought about at great length before moving down that road. And in fact, in my opinion, it's a road that shouldn't even be tried.
One area where certainly a lot of good things happened in 2010 would be spectrum, the FCC with the National Broadband Plan and then some other activity on the Hill. How do you see the developments and the progress that we've made on the spectrum front?
One of the really strong statements that the Obama administration made, the FCC made, the NTIA made, was the need for additional spectrum and the spectrum crisis that we're facing in this country. And they're absolutely right. They're right on target, and it's a message that we've been trying to deliver to government for a long time. And they heard it and they responded, and we could not applaud them any louder for that kind of response. But now we have to actually get to the spectrum auctions. We have to get to identifying the spectrum that we're going to put up for auction. And all that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort on everybody's part, and we're doing our fair share for sure. And the Obama administration and the people in Congress are doing their part as well. I guess, for me, they have a plan for the spectrum in the next 10 years. I'd always like to see it be sooner rather than later. But there's no doubt that there is a plan in place for the spectrum crisis that we started talking about a couple of years ago.
I know another area that we always talk about is taxes and fees and the burden that wireless consumers are being faced with on that front. And again, there's been some pretty good news there in 2010.
Yeah, well, the listed property rule that said that if you were a cell phone owner and it was provided by your business, that you had to keep track of all the calls that you made for your business versus those that you made privately, and those calls that you made privately from your business phone, business provided phone, you had to pay taxes on. We were able to get that listed property rule taken off the books, and that's good news for for taxpayers and for people in general. So that was a big win for our industry. We're still trying to get the cell tax moratorium in place. That's put a 5-year freeze on any additional taxes on wireless users. As you know, wireless users today pay over 15% of their bill goes in taxes and fees to local and state government, and we feel like that's way too high. And so we just want to say, don't lower it. I mean, we'd be glad if you did want to lower it, but at worst case, don't raise it. And we want a 5-year freeze on trying to raise the taxes that our cell phone users would have to pay for the next 5 years. So we're making some progress on that. We've got it out of committee, the Judicial Committee in the House, and we still have a ways to go, but we're making progress.
Taxes and fees are certainly consumer-based issues, but I think if you look on another front, almost under that same umbrella, though, distracted driving, that's an area where we continue some work that I know you're proud of, and there's also some work in the environmental space that's coming up that we're going to have an awful lot of attention on.
Yeah, well, we are very actively involved in all these consumer issues that you're talking about, and we have a ad program going on with the National Safety Council, and that's been very successful. It's an ad that's a PSA, public service announcement, that we don't pay to run, but we have paid to run it. Because we think it's so good, we want everybody to see it, and not just when the network wants to give us some time. But so we've actually paid to play that across the country, and had very favorable responses to that. You know, we have a recycling effort, and that's still going forward. And I think the green initiative that we're calling it in the wireless industry, we're going to move forward at a stronger pace in 2011. We're looking forward to that, and just letting people know of all the different ways that wireless can be environmentally friendly, and the way to handle your old cell phone or whatever in terms of recycling. You know, there's a lot of different ways that people can be engaged in the green effort through the use of their wireless devices.